I got an email from a scholar, and it was a very good email because this was a black scholar, and he had somewhat questions about the biblical text as far as my teaching here in the Wild Men, because here I am, Leon C, aka Morpheus, and this in this academy of Wow Men. Okay, and if you take away one of the W's, you get another introduction of this audio as well. While I consider it to be an 80-20 rule. But getting back to this emailer, I'm going to give you a red pill in just a moment. But before I do that, let me talk about him. And so the scholar was interested in trying to convey to me how real he thinks that not just religion itself, but Christianity is. And in that, he outlined very articulately. I had to laugh at it. And apparently this gentleman don't listen. No, there's several things I don't like in this world. I don't like a lot of things, but I have as a alpha male, there are things that I know about myself, not myself. There's things that I know that I hate according to the principles that I have learned of myself. And one of the things I hate, amongst many other things, is when people don't listen. But that's okay, because for those who are in the back of the classroom, I'm willing to take a little time out from the other students to speak to you. Okay? And give you a little highlight on some things, because I understand sometimes you just need a little special service. Nothing wrong with that. Okay? And he wanted to use, basically, he was using the context of the Bible and was using some of the studies that he had received himself from Bible college. Apparently, he sounded like he wanted to be a minister. But let's make something very, very clear. And I'm not going to make this audio real long. This ain't a debate, and nor do I need to challenge. Truth don't need to challenge. Let's just say we're just having a discussion here. Okay? There was see if I can remember what that word was. Come out with it very easy. There was a passage in your Bible, in the King James Version, that said this: bodily exercise profiteth little. Okay? Now, the one thing that I want you to pay attention to is how they wrote the word proper, I can't even say it now, or by itself. Propertith, proper. Okay, y'all can laugh at me later. Profiteth little, profiteth. Basically, profit. Basically, to gain. Okay? The black history or the culture of black people never talked like that. Black people don't talk like that with if, shouldeth, shouldn't, or youeth, or whoeth. That's not a black person thing. Okay? And another debunk is when you talk about bodily exercise profiteth little, as a physical trainer, and a lot of other peoples will tell you around the world who are physical trainers themselves and who are physicians and who are in the hospitals training and helping people to get better. And we always tell you that if we could bottle up the energy, the dopamine, the serotonin, and the energy and the motivation, the confidence that you gain when you work out all into one pill, I will be a billionaire overnight. Because that's not a little thing when you are working out. Because the part of you, and I teach this in my academy for you who are in the front of the classroom, I don't have to tell you twice, but it's just for those who don't pay attention because they need a smartphone, dumb phone to guide them through life. That there is several parts of you that is very important to your development. Okay? And that is your mind, that is your body, and is your spirit. And yes, I can separate it that way. And some people say, well, we need scientific evidence and so forth and so on. I broke this down very articulately in a couple of my audios that I'm not going to get into right now. And I have described that it is important for all of your faculties to be working at full throttle in order for you to achieve your greatest self, to be the best that you can be, to stay on the edge of your performance. When any one of them are lagging, the other suffers. Your whole body is engineered to be one vassal. So that means every aspect of yourself is essential to your development. It's essential to your soul, the person of who you are. It's essential to how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, and what you know about yourself through your physical activities. Okay? And so therefore, if you deny your body and you say it profiteth little, just think about that. Profiteth little. It profits little. You have to be making yourself the laughing stock of humanity, because it's important, and it is important to your mind. It's important to your spirit, how you feel physically, because your physical corporeal flesh is the car that your soul and your mind, yes, and your spirit has to use for the time that you are here on earth. Whether you like it or not, it's a part of the development, and it is important. Okay? It is important. So that in itself would make you wonder, why would they tell you such backwards, non-productive, and basically crazy statement in your biblical text to tell you that it profits little? Because I can tell you now, as a physical trainer, I talk to people every day. And they tell me specifically that if they don't go to the gym, their body will fall apart. They feel woefully unadjusted. Some people will feel fat. Some people will feel out of place. All right. The list goes on, where the activity is essential to your life. It's essential to you. So it is important. And it's not a little thing. It's a big thing. So if you don't question why they put that there, then you're lost. You're lost. Because there are several contradictions. There are several mindless things that you read in your gossip material of indoctrinated pages of Manual of Human Control, is what I call it. In the Manual of Human Control, that don't make sense, and it will contradict itself, and it's senseless, and you go along with the program anyway and find yourself sitting in an indoctrination camp, which is a church, so you can be mind washed. Because even as a child, as a 12-year-old, I remember hearing this in the Bible, and I never questioned it, but it didn't make sense to me, because at the time I was practicing my martial arts. At the time, I was trying to build muscle, but I was just, trying to have self-control. I was young at the time, couldn't build up that much, so I was just a little bitty kid, a little bit on the thin side, bird chest and all that. But I was learning my martial arts skill, learning how to kick and flip and defend myself, to take care of myself. And I thought, well, because in my past, we dealt with a lot of physical activity. There was a lot of bullies in my day, and a lot of the kids, they weren't like these soft-handled, moist, scaredy cat, panty-wearing boys nowadays who, have to cry to their mommy and school teachers because they get bullied. No, the kids that I grew around with, they were hands-on type of guys. The boys were always hands-on. Men always learned by their hands. So men talked with their hands during that time. They don't sit there and they never sat there and worried about cyberbullying, because we didn't have cyberbullying during that time anyway. Even though the internet was there, it's available, but not as virus and sickening as it is today. Okay. But There were times, and I think I told you this before, where I had to fight. I had to fight every day, and I had to deal with bullies who were a lot bigger than me. They were a lot bigger. They were in their, what do you call that? I was in the, let's see if I can recall, in grade school. I think it went up to sixth grade or something like that. I was somewhere around the fourth and fifth grade, and these guys were around sixth grade, something like that, sixth or seventh grade. All right. And they were tall enough to be considered as my bigger brothers. But because of that, they were bullies, because they knew that we were the little guys. They would kick us around. They would pick on us on the butts, flap on pop our ears. They'll flick our ears. They talk about our mom, any old type of thing to make themselves look like the big bad wolf. And they enjoyed it because we were the little guys. And they were ahead of the game. So I didn't know what was going on. And I was nurtured, in a soft hand family as well of, like I told you, passive, non-aggressive sort of parents who didn't focus on reality, but was just going through the motions like a whole lot of other people because information was available to them. So they didn't understand what they were reading was creating soft-handed boys, but I wasn't one of them. I wasn't a soft-handed boy, and I didn't appreciate getting picked on. So I did my martial arts to make myself better. And believe it or not, I had to use my skills almost all the time. And if I did not defend myself, I could probably find myself hurt. Okay. Or broken bones, or there were times where I would get ganged up on. And because of my skills, because of my physical tenacity, because of my speed, because of my, what do you call that? My potential to pose a great threat to those who would try to harm me, saved me practically all the time, where I came away scathe free, to where I built up a name for myself and I built up a reputation that I really didn't want. My job, my task there wasn't to build up a reputation. I was just trying to defend myself. But you know how kids are. You know how children and kids are. They like to talk and they like to make things bigger than what it is. And it became a war ground. Okay. So when I heard that, when the pastor said that, reading it from space, okay, from Jupiter somewhere, it didn't make sense to me, because I kept questioning, like, why would he say something like that? Why it profiteth little. So you want to be out there and you want to get kicked from the bus stop to the front of your doorstep with a busted eye, broken arm, and a broken leg, and everything else, bleeding from your eyeballs, because you're saying that bodily exercise profit little. To me at that time, that wasn't a little thing. It was a big thing. It was every day. That was my life. That was how I was raised. So when you use your thinking faculties, okay, you should be able to, as a adult human being, to realize just how stupid it really is to guide your mind, your logical mind, into the abyss of out of their mind, crazy thinking people who wanted nothing but the profit from indoctrinating your mind into a system to make you out to be a coin or a battery, like the movie of The Matrix. Okay, so that's one contradiction that definitely ran into my mind. And let's go further than this. Okay. Let's talk about the history of black people for a moment when it comes to religion. You have to remember, we all know that years ago, the language was taken. Okay, your ancestors was amalgamated and mutated over time to learn of other cultures' ways, other cultures' idea of God and devil. Okay, it was hard to keep your culture because you was denied your language. You were denied your history. You was denied knowing even who you was. And it was so bad where they gave you another name. They gave you another name. So to give you an example, maybe your name would have been, let's see if I can find one. Hakutamaku. If your name was Hakutamaku, when you was in slavery, your name would have been probably Carl or Chad. Okay. Or David or Davis. Okay. So As the extended amount of time went on from generation to generation to generation, just as what we have experienced today, you can bring it to your modern day lifestyle, okay, where the ways of your ancestors were forgotten. It was dwindled away. The concept of God, the concept of worship transformed to be wherever your slave master may be. It could be France, it can be America, it can be Europe, however or wherever you ended up at. You had to take on the lifestyle of that culture and of that state and country. And definitely, if that was the way for you to make ends meet, if that was the way for you to be acceptable by your slave master or slave masters or those around you, when at that time you have to remember, as a black individual, they really didn't like you because you was black. So therefore, you was considered to be a low hanging fruit, a low species. So everything that you did was to try to crawl out of your skin. It's not that you really hated yourself. It was that you was programmed to hate yourself by the systems that were around you that did not want to give you respect, honor, and concern because of your color and because of your culture and because of your history. List goes on. So with that, you have to remember that the way that things have begun, when you look at Africa, Africa is a full continent, or you could say state, whatever you want to put on there with your opinion, okay, or landmass, okay. Egypt was a part of Africa and still is a part of Africa, okay. And it was considered to be a capital of Africa in the past, okay, a very major pinpoint of the culture that was there. All right. And while the pieces were there, the pieces of evidence that is now pieces of evidence there, but even more is sitting there that's trying to be washed away. Okay. Probably already done by now. Okay. Is parts of your culture and parts of history and parts of how black people, or you could say the people of that time, used to worship God or worship earth. And it wasn't God as in a singular person. If you read the hieroglyphs, if you watch them, if you look at the pictures on the walls, okay, and you look at the imagery, it wasn't about one God. It was about a universal concept. It was about the stars. It was about astrology. It was about the internal spirit. It was about activity. It wasn't about a child in the manger, born on Christmas. There were plenty of children that was born during that time, and there were plenty of activities, but I'm not going to get into that because that would take a totally different audio altogether. All right. So I'm going to leave that dangling there. The point of the matter is those hieroglyphs, images on the walls, was depicting, okay, what that culture believed in as far as God is concerned, life and death. Okay. And a lot of those things was pilfered. It was stolen. It was amalgamated over the years. Then it was repackaged and given to you in a totally different way. Not the way that you can understand it. It was given to you with the colors and the energy of other cultures, not your own. Not your own. And I got another thing for you. I got another humdinger, okay, that is also laughable. You think that Morpheus don't know anything, and Morpheus has never been there and done that. And some of you just think I'm the devil, okay? I've sat around a table of people of all colors and ranges, all right? And in the group, when there is about, let's just say, 10 black people, there are at least 2 or 3 black people out of the whole group. The rest of them remain quiet, learn, study, and they be like, I see, okay, I got it, and jot down notes. But 2 or 3 of them out of all of them always raise their hands up and say, you know what? Maybe Jesus was black. He wasn't white. He had to be black. And I can never forget when the gentleman said that when we were, out there having a small conversation about this thing. I stood up and they thought that They thought I was getting ready to leave and go to the restroom. I stood up for a reason, to get their attention. I stood up real fast out of my seat. And you can hear the seat slide back. And I leaned forward and I looked at the gentleman and the other one that agreed with him. I said, does that make a difference? I said, does it make a difference? Does it truly make a difference? Are you really saying that because you change the color, it's going to make a difference in the story? I said, if you think like that, you are done for. You don't listen. You are wasting your time sitting here at the table, and you need to go back to school. You really need to do a recheck on yourself, because it don't matter whether the color is purple, rainbow, or it was made from Chinese or the Latin language or Latin people. The fact of the matter is, it's still a story when it's all said and done. What matters is the contradiction. What matters is it don't line up to history. What matters, it don't line up to facts and science and evolution. It doesn't, and it cannot. So just because you change the face of something, that's not going to change the story. And I'm like, we don't see, the problem is we just really don't sit down and think about what we say. We don't sit down and actually think about anything thoroughly from A to Z. Okay, you're listening to somebody who's been there and who have done that. You listen to somebody who was in, as they call, the faith. Someone who wanted to be a minister. Someone who thought about, oh, I want to go and save people. I want to minister to them. I want to be this. I want to be the newfound Jesus to go around and lay hands on people and hallelujah. Until the real universe, not some pale faced guy in the sky with the long gray beard, come down and say, Morpheus, I'm going to bless you with information. No, the universe, nature, science, understanding how things work told me to pump the brakes. Let's say, wait a minute. Before you do that, I need to show you something first. So situation after situation came to me as I was developing as a man. And I began to evaluate those things. And I told you before in my other audio where I began to ask myself, why do I need to know these things? I can care less about it. It had nothing to do with me. I was fighting with myself at the time. I was like, why do I need to know this? But at that time, I was speaking like y'all speak. Oh, God, that God thing, thinking, God, why are you giving me this? This have nothing to do with me. I don't do this. I'm physically active. I'm not lazy. I'm not this and that. Why do I need to know this? Why do I need to know about anatomy? Why are you giving me this information? What's the point behind it? It has nothing to do with me. And I'm sitting there studying and breaking things down by its very, very elements. Studying human nature, the activity of people, right? And I'm asking myself still, why do I need to know this? And again, I didn't care. I was just a growing guy, playing video games, studying myself, learning the world, trying to figure out my own strength. Okay. But it was an outside energy. It was the energy of the universe and real energy of a superior God, or you could say energy of a God, which is not a male or female, which have truly designed the way life is supposed to be, which was information and science, so forth and so on in nature. That gave me the inspiration and destroyed and debunked the deception of the stories that was amalgamated and manipulated through the years. So that's how I understood and learned for myself that the story was twisted and resold back to you as a black man. So when I heard this black man say that, thinking that just because he changed the face would change the story, okay, I would say that he kind of cooled his heels for a little bit there and began to understand a little bit better what I was talking about, because he probably never even thought of that before, because we're so interested. The problem with people, we're looking for identity. If you're still looking for an identity out of this world, okay, I'm gonna be nice because this is YouTube. Okay, listen, just just do yourself some justice and just don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be okay. Just go with the flow. You might be that type of person where you just have to deal with whatever comes your way and, make the best out of your situation. Now, I'm gonna tell you now, you're gonna struggle badly because without knowledge, okay, people suffer. You suffer when you don't have knowledge. Okay, you should know by now who you are and find your own identity. We're always trying to look for being this great, unique person that's chosen by God. Everybody wants to be on God's side. Nobody wants to be the villain. Everybody wants to be seen as this hero, this great individual. Oh, look at me. Look at me. I'm the greatest. I'm the best culture. I'm the best color. I created the world. I helped, unify the universe together. I made the first this. I'm the dot, 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 dot. As if life cares about how you feel or what you think about the universe. It's still going to be itself and it's still irrelevant and it doesn't matter. So you need to find an identity for yourself and be happy with who you have become and how you are developing yourself. Whatever you used to do in the past or whatever the past is done. All you can do is recreate yourself better than what you used to be by evolving. Don't de-evolve or become a stalemate by sitting there holding on to the things that have happened in the past. You are to understand the past and use that to make yourself the best version of yourself. Okay, when you are this individual who's looking for an identity, you haven't found yourself yet. There's no need to be in any type of debate, conversation, or even figure out that or even think of yourself as an individual until you understand why you are or why you want to be an individual. But how about that? Why you want to be an individual, why you want to be a singular vassal with a mind of your own. You will find a mind of your own when you find your own identity, and your identity cannot be found in stories. If you want to understand how the history works by being chopped up and manipulated and become this amalgamated stew, okay, which is going to be repackaged to you, because anything lasts for a long time without somebody who wants to make money from you or off of you or use you as a pendulum slave isn't going to be manipulated or dipped in some type of deception. And some deceptions are obvious, as I just read to you, where if you begin to love yourself and use your thinkers that are in your head, you'll begin to see that it's telling you in broad daylight that it's not for you and it don't make sense, because sometimes it don't make sense. It won't line up to reality. It just doesn't. There are plenty of people out there in the world, and you cannot tell the average person who's sitting there on the treadmill, or a 300-pound person who's trying to lose weight, or this person who gets achy joints, if they don't move, or they start building up calories. They got to bring their cholesterol down, and they got to straighten out their stretch marks, and they sit here on the treadmill for 20-25 minutes. I wish you would come up to them and tell them bodily exercise profited little. They'll look at you like you are a Martian and be like, are you out of your mind? To me, this is everything. If I don't get on this treadmill, okay, tell the superstars that. And go ahead and tell those who are trying to be in the athletic league, okay, or the Olympics. Okay, tell those who's in bodybuilding competition and stuff like that, or models like myself. No, I'm not a model. I'm just saying. Okay, and it's it profits little. Really? Wow. Okay, so you mean to tell me that you want to disappear sooner and faster than giving yourself a little bit of longevity? Because if you don't take care of yourself by the time you're 30, 40 years old, you're going to be sagging down the street. So you rather have that than to be walking as a 30, 40-year-old man as if you are a 20-year-old? That's backwards thinking. So that's basically telling you, well, hate yourself. It don't mean nothing. It profits little. Don't worry about it. Just sit there and just be indoctrinated and eat this corn and pretend as if you are in the land of luxury, where your body doesn't deteriorate over time. Even cars need a tune up every now and then. I wish you would think that. Well, no, cars need a tune up. Let's not change the oil for a long time. Okay. Let's not tune it up, even though the wheels are wobbly. You're going to be stuck on the highway or out somewhere, stuck in Arizona looking stupid. waiting probably an hour or hour and a half and whatever degrees and weather for somebody to come and help you. And then I want you to sit up there and say, well, tuning up my car and making sure that it's working well, profit is little. To you, it will mean the world and probably even life and death. Depends on what type of animals and conditions that you are out there. So let's stop being stupid. Let's stop being stupid. Okay. So let me get back to the service of this classroom here. Okay. And get back onto the point. The reality of it is, my black brothers, is this. Okay. And sisters. History have been manipulated. That's one thing you got to have in your mind. It's been manipulated. When you understand that, okay, it will pretty much cover almost everything else. It will open up your eyes. And also, you can't validate something that you wasn't there. You can't validate something that you have not experienced during that time where you walked with your feet in the sands next to these so-called, in this modern day world expression, prophets. Okay, you can't do that. And you have to know your own history. You got to know that you had a different way of seeing God. You had a different way of using the universal energy. You had a different path of light that was actually taken from you. And no matter if you change the color of the book or the face of it, the story is still the same. The story is still the same. So there's no need to argue and get mad and say, well, Morpheus, you're out of your mind. And just, oh, well, we did have history and we did that. We created that. And yeah, man, Jesus was black, and Jesus was able to do this, only that can be done in Africa. I'm like, dude, listen, hey, do you understand that religion comes with culture. Culture comes with religion. Religion comes with culture. Culture comes with religion. Can I say that all day? Religion comes with culture. Okay? Therefore, the faces, the people, the jargon, and the words, and the English, if I can put it in English we can understand, okay? And the lignity, the way that it is put together is based on the culture. Okay? And most of it is not your culture as a black man or a black woman, because a lot of it has been taken from you and has been diced up and resold to you. And over the years, as your grandmothers and grandfathers continue to live into another culture's lifestyle, trying to survive and make ends meet, piece by piece, you pretty much lost almost everything in remnants of where and what you used to be. And how you focused on God. So therefore, now if you bring in a new kid today who's 5 years old, okay, and he don't know anything about history, but nothing, but if not everything of what they what they shoved down their throat, in the indoctrinated camp called school, they're not going to have any attachment to their historical past. They're going to be no different than any other common culture that you see today, because they have no remnants. They have no connection to it and no practice. No practice. This is why some cultures, when they come into the country, they speak their language and they speak the English language. They keep their culture with them and they attach to other cultures, so that way they can have two forms of success. And that way they can never forget themselves, just in case somebody tries to wipe away the history, just in case somebody tries to lie to them and say, no, we don't do that. No. You get an Asian man coming from Asia. When he comes from Asia, that doesn't mean he's out of Asia. Asia is inside him. You look at him, he is Asia. He's China and Japan and, North Korea, South Korea. That's him. Okay. You can't separate him, and he knows how to speak his own language, and he knows his history. So therefore, and oftentimes there's only one thing that can actually happen. If they become Americanized or something like that, and they want to take on some Christianity and all the rest of the other, tools of destruction. Okay. They'll take onto it by their own free will and understand it based on wanting to do something different and be open-minded. But other than that, they're going to bring their own sense of reality and be themselves. So therefore, they have a legitimate and open reason to be obligated to what they think they know, because there's a realistic tethering to their path. Okay. But when you try to say that you are going to voucher, stand by something that has nothing and never did have anything to do with your culture, and probably had a lot to do with why your culture was in such demise and destruction to begin with, okay, then you're making yourself ambient, or a diversion to reality. You're making yourself something that the ancestors will probably disapprove of and be ashamed of, because a lot of your ancestors have fought for knowledge, have fought to survive, and has fought to keep their head out of the noose. That doesn't mean that they wanted you to forget who you was altogether. That doesn't mean they fought for you to take on another culture's idea of life and death. This is why when you see somebody who's of a different culture and you know their culture, they start speaking their language, they dress the same way, they cook according to their culture, they act according to their culture. Whenever you amalgamate, whenever you try to mingle and mix, whenever you get outside of the knowledge of yourself and be something that you're not, that's when the sickness come in. That's when the sickness come in. Frederick Douglass said something that made a lot of sense that we still don't get today, and which is why I don't get into conversations like this. I'm only creating this audio for my viewers, my followers and supporters, and I made a promise that you ask a question, I'm going to ask it as much as possible. But what he said was, and I know I'm going to misquote it, but that's okay, but you get the idea. He said, black people, you need to be careful of taking in the lifestyle of, I think, the American ways, or other people that's outside of your culture, or you'll get sick. Eventually you'll get sick from, basically he was saying you'll get sick if you're taking in other energies, other cultures, and other ideas of life. While you doing that, you're sickening yourself. Okay, when you break that down to psychology, basically, when you get outside of yourself and you neglect yourself, you neglect your own origin, your culture, your history, and where you come from, and you take on something else, you begin to sicken yourself, because now you have a mindset of only those people, and you don't have the mindset of what you originally had. So therefore, you're fighting for the wrong people, and you're not fighting for yourself or your own kind. You're standing by what was given to you and repackaged to you. You're not standing by what you know a thing is. You're standing by what a person told you a thing is and how they indoctrinated you. It's almost like there's a rabid dog or a zoo animal who's out of control. Okay, and the zoo animal knows it needs to be out there in the wild. It has its own kind, it has its own lifestyle, and knows itself. Okay, but over time, as a trainer, the trainer will learn how to tamper down that animal, learn how to manipulate that animal, and make the animal obedient. Like sometimes you see some people on YouTube, okay, messing around with bears. This huge bear, big old head. The head's as big as the body of the owner or the person who's training the bear. Okay. But the only thing that tames this bear is the fact that that person might have something over the bear. And most times that person might have some food in their hand, like fish or something like that. And so the bear knows it can't get it nowhere else but this particular person who's providing the bear with the food or whatever the amenities that the bear may need. So the bear becomes docile over time and forget that it's a hunter and forget that it's a bear, and it becomes submissive. Okay. Or sometimes even dogs can be mistreated by their owners, and they females be yelling at it, something like that, throw a shoe at, just all kind of other crazy things. But yet let a stranger come along, the dog will defend the owner. The dog will defend the very owner that's abusing it. Okay, to attack the stranger. But it has become attached to the owner. It's become attached to them because over time it become docile. Give it a certain amount of time, certain amount of energy, and tit for tat type of thing, and I'm gonna give you this for that. Then now the defense walls are down. Now you softened up. So let's bridge this over to religion. Religion comes with culture. See, I had to say it again. And at the same time, you got to understand how your history began and look at it from where it really is supposed to be. The fact is, and here's the word again, we deny ourselves reality. That doesn't mean we can't peer bond with other cultures. That doesn't mean we can't get along with them. Doesn't mean we don't have friends. I have plenty of partners as well that are multicultural. Have plenty of them. And I already told you my style of girlfriend. Okay, I got a unique, exotic, sweet tooth. Okay, for special things. Okay, so I myself don't practice that, but it doesn't mean that we can't go outside of our race. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you got to understand where you come from by its very basic structure. Therefore, when you are trying to debate or come up with your idea of life and death and trying to get to the root of where you are, you got to go back to your ancestors. You got to go back in history. You got to go beyond the beyond. You can't go 2 years back or talk about, TD Snakes or other people who, just want to make a profit off of you. You got these $1 million church. You can't do that. You got to go all the way to the past and go back to how you began with your culture and what your people used to think about reality, life and death. And when you do that, maybe you can straighten out. When you hear people say that the black community is in shambles, okay, or a lot of the black women are, the single mothers at home and they're struggling and there's nothing but, terrible, situations happening in the hood. There's always a root to it. There's always a root to it. And I can almost guarantee that part of it, I didn't say all of it, part of it has a lot to do with forgetting your past, forgetting your history, and taking on the lifestyle and the energy of other cultures. And when you do that, it messes your mind up. Just like birds eat certain food, birds don't eat dog food. Okay. Carnivores aren't omnivores. Okay. And herbivores can't be carnivores. They have to separate their food. Once you start eating something else, you get sick. Now, the thing is, you can put anything you want in your mouth, anything you want. And it might work out quite well. But you know what? Sometimes it's, you got your diarrhea, you got your sickness coming, you got your pimple face, you got your diseases, you got your high blood pressure, you got diabetes going on and cancer. The list goes on. Okay. Just because you can do it don't mean you should. All right. So therefore, there's no need to say, well, everybody's doing it, we need to do it. Oh, it's just a common thing. It's the modern day thing. You can be modernized and focus on what's going on today. And what I tell you, make the best of yourself going forward. But when you talk about life, death, history, and God concept, you got to go further back into the past before they start changing the story to give it back to you. Because a lot of things have been repackaged. There's a reason why you have a group of people sitting around someone. Either they telling the truth, like you have some followers on YouTube or subscribing or whatever they do. Okay. They may be telling the truth and people are interested in nothing but the truth and it makes sense to them. And the other hand of them is people who are interested in being entertained. They're interested in the hocus pocus Holy Ghost. Okay. So they want to sit there and be entertained by the energy that it provides because it's an emotional thing. I was pulling out with my Lexus from the store. I'm gonna get off this audio log because it's too long now, but I'm gonna give you this story here. And I heard some music next to me, and it's one of the gospel musics. One of them was "Never Would Have Made It Without You." Oh man. And I heard some other music from another female artist, right? It's blaring. I could hear the music in the background. I mean, they just feeling good, right? That warm feeling that I remember all the music. I remember I used to have the CD deck going from the ground all the way up to the ceiling of my house. Like, wow, I was thinking I was doing something, going down the street, listening to gospel music. Like, woo, I'm in line with God. God loves me, right? That was my mentality, feeling good inside. But when I listened to it this time, there's one thing that I noticed. And first of all, I didn't have to see who was next to me. I actually know who now most times it targets. And most of them are thoroughly into because it's an emotional thing, not a logical one. Okay. It's one that's based on feelings. It's one that's based on it needs the music. It needs to prop you up and make you feel good. And it's somewhat of a comfort zone not to get out of it. Almost like the cave days where you have this person sitting in a cave. The man will go outside the cave and fight the bears and everything. And she'll sit right in there because it's comfortable and safe and secure. So I said, okay, that's a female over there. I know that's a woman. Didn't even have to look. Looked over. Sure enough, she was little Shirley, about 46 years old, right? Enjoying her loud music. And I'm thinking to myself, it's just emotions. Years ago, I would have said, oh, nice, that's nice music. She must be, an saint. Okay. But now I realize it's just an emotional attachment, nothing based on anything because when you really want the truth, you listen to my audio. There's no music in the background. I told you it's not about trying to flash anything in front of the screen. No animatronics and nothing like that. I'm not talking about how you can do things on the light. When you are in a classroom, it's not about that either. When you're sitting before the professors and you got your book open, you're there to study with the professor. It's telling you there's no music, there's no clowns in the background or no instruments. Okay, oftentimes it's just them. It's a straightforward thing. Even in comedy stand-up, sometimes to hear the comic and to enjoy what the comic is saying, okay, there's not a lot of music in the background unless it's a punchline and they're switching comment. I can't say they're switching comedians back to back. Okay, but other than that, you're gonna just hear them and you're gonna hear laughter because that's how you're able to understand what people are saying. But when you put music in the background and bows and ribbons and bottles and it's almost like having a party because that's there to soften you up. That's there to make you emotional about what the song really isn't saying to you, and it's just based on making you feel good and giving you an essence of hope. Hope that never come. Hope that never saved millions of people, and I'm not going to go into the details of that, over years. So therefore, when you understand this type of thing that's playing against you, maybe you can see things differently. So now when I heard the music, now it's noise in my ears. Now I'm thinking, please turn that nonsense off because she will be better off driving down the street with Mystical or some Busta Rhymes playing or some type of rapper, somebody. She'd be better off doing that than listening to something like that because they're just about the same. It's just entertainment and just to get you to the thing for hopeful thinking. That's not going to, would you rather sit in the house, right? Or your castle or wherever you are, your condo or your beachfront, whatever you think you are. Okay. Would you rather sit there and, watch the world go to shambles? If you can help it, you could, but you rather sit there and watch your world go to shambles and everything's blaring around you. And then, you got to leave the house eventually and go out there and deal with that world. Or would you rather, of course, sit back and relax when you can or when you get the opportunity to do that? But if you can make a difference in your environment, if you can make a difference out of your situation, if you can make a difference out of your culture, and if you can prevent the destructions from happening out there, if the power is within your hand, would you rather do that instead? Because the sense of it is eventually you're going to have to get out there anyway. And whatever that you do, whether you want to think that you're going to be in your comfortable hope bubble because somebody tells you everything's going to be all right, God's got it handled. There's no other way. There's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. Some of y'all don't know that song. Let me sing it where you understand. Trust and obey, trust and obey. But there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. What is the key words in that? Trust and obey. Trust and obey. Okay, let me sit in a room and have this guy. I'm a lion, right? This lion tamer with the whip, right? Trust me. Obey. Obey. Trust me. Obey. Why would you need to tell anyone to trust and obey? And here's the thing. Here's the key word as well. To be happy in Jesus is to trust and obey. So in order to be happy in someone, you got to trust them and obey them. Uh-oh. Listen, this is actually a song I'm telling you about. To be happy in a person, you have to trust them and obey them. Obey is a word that should never come out of the mouth of somebody who loves you. Do your wife come home and say, you can obey me? Should your husband ever come home and you disobey me? He's, oh baby. He'd be like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Who? Wait. I was a child, you know, a long time ago. Who do you think you telling to obey? I'm not your dog. I'm not your monkey. And I'm definitely not your slave. So obey who? But yet this is in music. It's in music. This is in music. It's in song. Okay. Sometimes you see it on a banner. Obey, trust and obey. Why would you have to say trust and obey if it's, listen, when you are learning something and something's true, do you ever have to trust and obey it? You just know it, right? Why would I tell you, well, trust me, trust Morpheus, just trust me? Why am I telling you constantly to trust me? Because actually, you don't need to trust me. Actually, I'm up to no good. So I'm trying to convince you to trust me. And why am I saying obey? As if you're some slaves. Obey? wait a minute. Obey. Who are you? If listen, in free will, which is a joke, and I have an audio for that. I'm not even gonna get deep into it with this one. Okay. The idea of free will is choice. The idea of free will is option. The idea is this is going to be available for you whether you choose to believe or not. It's available for you. You're going to be okay, whether you choose to abide by the indoctrination or not. It's your free will and your choice. If you hear somebody and they say it all the time, well, in order to get to heaven, you're going to have to get through Jesus. What? Excuse me? Yeah, there's no other way. You can't go around. They even made a song on that. You can't go around. You can't go over. You can't go under. Wait a minute. Excuse me? And then you got like 12, 13 other different religions. Okay. You got thousands of people that are still living for generation after generation without ever stepping foot in the church or being in front of a pulpit pimp pastor. Okay. And the Christians are the religions of all kinds. Will never sit back and say, wait a minute, why are these people still living then? why are they flourishing? They still driving nice cars. Look at them, got families, eating good. They're at the restaurant somewhere and you on your way to church. You don't never question like, wait a minute, what am I doing to myself when you can be over there eating, living and functioning life? That's because the idea is to put you in this box, to tell you to obey and force you to trust. And to force you to trust, I got to put trigger words in your mind. Okay, so you can go along with the program. And then at the same time, you don't even know where your history came from or your cultural development, because now you're taking on the culture of the belief of a different culture, and you're abandoning yourself. So the ancestors will be completely abashed and ashamed of you if they exist today. They would turn over in their grave 4 to 5 times and say, that is not why I fought for you. That is not why I suffered for you. I suffered for you so you can carry on, not so you can carry on as somebody that you are not. Not so you can carry on to put your mind, your spirit, and your life in a limited box of indoctrination. I fought for you and I died for you. That way you can live and flourish and be free, not go around and be bound again mentally. If anything, if you want to honor your ancestors, go back into the past and go back to what they used to honor. I can guarantee you almost 99% of the time, it was astrology. It was the stars. It was energy. It was the universe, and it was definitely nature. Not computers, not dumb phones you call smartphones, not automatic cars that drive for itself because you don't drive yourself, and not talking and acting like other cultures because you want to blend in and be a part of. It was about being yourself, knowing yourself, and being comfortable in the skin that you are in. That's what it was about, and understanding God not as a singular concept, but a concept of all things. We are not all things. We are separated by our mind. We are separated by our thinking, and we are definitely separated by our ignorance and lack of knowledge. Do I make myself clear? I just gave you a red pill and you didn't see it coming. This is Leon C, aka Morpheus. You know what to do.